Welcome into the 5 of 6 Daily Fantasy Golf Show. That is Rico Mukherjee. I'm Tony Altieri, live and direct from Live Las Vegas, Rick. It's literally happening like 3 blocks from where I'm staying. It's funny, I actually got a buddy of mine who's staying at the Westgate, and the entire Live team, like all their production team, all the staff people, all the caddies, they're all staying at the Westgate Hotel. But of course, no John Rahm, no Neiman, Phil Mickelson. They're not staying at the Westgate. But everybody working for Live is right there. And it's funny because the course that they're playing at is Las Vegas Country Club, which is actually a really nice course. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's like the biggest dichotomy in the world where the course is very nice, but the houses that are on the course are like, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years old. So it's
wow.
like you'll be hitting a shot from like an immaculate fairway, and there's like people doing meth in their backyard, like right when you're hitting a shot. Like it's that bad.
That's funny. I've never played there before, but that's interesting that they're playing there. You would think Liv would maybe put in a little money to spruce up the surrounding area so it looks nice on TV, but that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a nice course. It's a country club. It's private. It's pretty exclusive, or at least expensive enough to keep it exclusive from people joining. But yeah, the infrastructure around it is like the local course that we play at that's closest to you. You know, at Rancho Cal, you have like trailer park on the side. That's how it is on this course. There's like trailer park homes on the course.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, they probably couldn't get on at the Wynn, and so hey, next best thing is right there.
Yeah, well, Liv was a hot topic last week, man. I because of the rain out on the PGA Tour, I actually watched Liv all day on Sunday. It was interesting.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head. For everybody who was a golf fan, we all lost the PGA Tour on Sunday, and so we had to fill the void with something. And I mean, for all the negative things that I think people say about Liv, for all the things that I've said that I don't like about it, like, dude, the leaderboards and the guys that are on that tour, I mean, it's some of the best guys that are out there. And to your point, it was a compelling finish to the tournament.
Yeah, definitely was exciting. I was actually watching it, and then I went and actually played a little golf on Sunday during it, and I was watching it on my phone, and I didn't realize that they went to another playoff hole, because when they went to their fourth playoff hole and finished, Sergio and Neiman, and they're like, "Oh, this is it. It's too dark to play now. We're gonna come back tomorrow and play it." So I turned my phone off and kept playing, and then all of a sudden I got a notification: Neiman wins in playoff. Like 20 minutes later, I was like, "Oh shit, they played another hole!" And I watched the highlights, and they played it completely in the dark. And yeah, good leaderboard, man. Neiman, Sergio, Rahm, Dean Burmester. It was a good leaderboard, and it was exciting to watch. I mean, with PGA being washed out and completely, canceling their final round, it was definitely something to watch on Sunday. And it was. I mean, it's nice to have PGA tournament because Pebble Beach is Pebble Beach, but if they're not going to play, then might as well watch Live.
Yeah, I mean, Neiman shoots a 58 or a 59 on Friday, whatever it was. I mean, which is unbelievable. Anytime a guy goes sub 60, like that's noteworthy. And Rahm should have probably won that tournament, but he finished bogey. So hey, it is what it is. It was funny because I kind of was watching the tail end of it, obviously, like a lot of people did. And then I just, after the fact, I saw a bunch of like the social media stuff. And it was funny because you could tell that immediately following the end of the tournament, like Rahm was pissed because of the way he had played those last 2 holes. And then they had told him like, "Hey, you guys won like the team event." He's like, "Oh yeah," like you could tell he could completely forgotten about the team aspect of the tournament.
Yeah. I don't think he really cares about the team aspect of the tournament, but he got to pop some champagne. But it's funny. Right before I got on here, I was reading an article on ESPN how Rahm hopes that in the near future that he can go back and play some PGA Tour events that that he finds sentimental to his heart, like Torrey Pines and Memorial and stuff like that. So sounds like I don't know, I wouldn't want to say he's already sick of Live, but it sounds like he's already sick of Live, especially with the loud music playing in the back and stuff like that during the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he had multiple times you could tell that the music was bothering him.
Yeah.
And it is kind of odd because it has like a very weird like international like Euro feel, because they're just constantly playing techno music the entire
Yeah.
time. The broadcasters have, English accents. It feels like you're watching a broadcast from another country.
Yeah, it does. I'm pretty sure he like when it got down to the very end, like maybe the last few holes, I'm pretty sure he told somebody to turn it off because they definitely turned the music off the last like 4 or 5 holes of the tournament, and they didn't have it on during the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, we're gonna see Rahm's name at the top of live leaderboards all year, and then hopefully he can get back on the PGA Tour and start playing in the PGA Tour events next year. So we'll see. Wyndham Clark gets the job done, shooting a 60 on Saturday on the PGA Tour. Very, very impressive round from him on Saturday. He literally made every single putt he looked at. I think he made like 180 feet worth of putts and had a shot of 59. He just had to birdie 2 out of the last 3 holes, I think, and he could have done it. But yeah, another big paycheck for Wyndham Clark, man. The guy just wins big tournaments.
Yeah, it's funny. He's won 2 elevated events and a U.S. Open here in the stretch of about the last year. So the dude is cashing checks. He don't need to go to live to make a ton of money. He is literally filling his bank
Yeah.
account right now with the events that he's winning. And it's kind of funny because you think about Pebble and you think about what Wyndham does well, and it doesn't seem like the right fit. But I mean, to your point, the dude made every putt. I mean, he hit 2 eagle putts that were over 40 feet. I mean, it just, when you have a guy that goes nuclear like that on the greens, like you can run all the statistical models you want. You can look at course history and trends, but it's like, dude goes numb on the greens and just makes everything. And that's what he did. Like, you can't combat that.
He's a great putter, man. I saw it last year. His putting at the Wells Fargo and the U.S. Open last year really got him those trophies, and he's been I think he's been a solid putter for a really, really long time. It's always nice to see somebody make putts on a Sunday or a Saturday, I guess. But
Yeah.
Whenever we bet these jabronis that have that always are losing strokes putting, and they do is miss putts on Sunday, like Aberg and Justin Thomas and Scotty Scheffler. These guys just literally can't make a 6-foot putt. And then you got Wyndham Clark just draining everything, who's a good putter. So it's nice to see somebody actually make putts and win a tournament and go out there and win it on a Sunday instead of somebody gagging it away because they can't make a 6-foot putt.
Yeah, no, I mean, I this week, usually I'm pretty betty. Like, I bet like, 4 or 5 guys, maybe 6 guys for the week. And just because it's literally been over 100 to 1 guys that have been winning. And where I like to live on the betting board is kind of like 20 to 70. I don't have a good feel for betting right now. So last week I had no outright bets. I think I had one actually, so that's not 100% true. I think I had a Justin Thomas ticket, but I bet a bunch of top 10s on guys like Scheffler and JT, a top 40 on Mav McNeely, and they all cashed. I tailed Degenerate 75 after watching the Mayo show because he talked about this no hole in one. So I got it at plus 130, that cash. So
Yep.
I had a very, very positive week last week in the betting boards by basically not doing outright winners because it's been so variable here the last couple of weeks. So I'm interested here as we kind of transition to waste management, and it feels like we have a pretty good feel for the kind of guys that win here, but just based on how the last couple of weeks been, dude, I feel like it's been more out of the woods in terms of guys that are winning these tournaments than I've ever seen it before. And it has me taken back. Like, I'm not sure how to approach the week from like a betting perspective.
Yeah. Just bet Scotty Scheffler top 10 and move on.
Yeah.
No matter what. But that's not fun. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to bet 5 to 1 winners. We're here to bet like 70 to 1 winners, even though we haven't hit a single one all year. But
I know.
The only bet I had last week was Wyndham Clark 2 to 1 after the 3rd round, which got voided because I placed it after the round. And it seemed like, we were talking about it in our text thread. It seemed like if you were able to get that bet in before that last group finished on 18, they paid you out on those bets, even if it was at the very end when Aberg is putting for birdie and right before he putted and makes par. Even if you bet Wyndham Clark right at that moment, it seems like they still paid that out because there was still, uncertainty whether or not Wyndham Clark was going to win the tournament. But after the round was over is when I placed my bet, 2 to 1. I thought it was free money because I was pretty sure this tournament was going to get canceled and we were going to get paid out. But the tournament did get canceled, and they voided our bets, and like they should. So that was the only bet I had, and then the other bet I had was Rom after going into Sunday, because the books didn't adjust to the Neiman 2-stroke penalty that was assessed to him on Sunday morning. Because when I looked on Saturday after the round, Neiman had a 4-stroke lead over Rahm, and Rahm was plus 300 to win the tournament. And then in the morning when I looked, Neiman was 2 strokes up. I was like, what the hell happened? So I looked online, and he got this 2-stroke penalty, and Rahm was still plus 300 to win the tournament. So he was only 2 strokes back at 3-1. So I bet that. Didn't cash, but I thought that was a pretty savvy bet, to make, because I caught the books napping a little bit. So you got to look for things like that here and now and then. I like to alert people when that stuff happens. So didn't win, but it was a nice closing line value on that, I think.
Yeah, no, I hate the top of the board this week on the waste management, but I'm gonna do a double this week, so I might as well talk about it. But I'm gonna go JT at the waste management and Bryson at the live event, and I'm gonna do a parlay that way. And it's pretty good odds, like if you're out there, because I think JT's like 13-1 to win in Phoenix, and Bryson is similar. He's like 13-14 to 1 the live event here in Vegas. And I feel like on their own, like I don't really like either of those numbers, but together in a parlay, like that feels like that's good value right there.
Yeah, I like those. Does Bryson live in Vegas, or does he live in
Yeah,
Texas?
he's a resident here in Las Vegas, so this is
Okay.
home for him. I'm sure he's played the course that they're playing. Like I said, it's not an overly difficult course, and the narrative is like you got a bunch of guys out here Super Bowl weekend, and they're gonna party like rock stars, and pick the guys that are the oddest, like bookwormy, like no friends guys, and that's Bryson. That's Bryson all
Yeah,
day.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to bet the guys who you think are not going to be partying this week, like Bryson, and I think I heard Jeff talk about Kevin Na, because he lives there, so he's like not going to like be partying in Vegas or whatever. But yeah, I like those guys, but I don't think it's a week to bet DJ and Brooks and the guys that like to rate.
Dude. DJ and Paulina are going to go so hard along with Brooks and his wife. Like they're going to party all night, every day. Like Live better hope they don't withdraw from the tournament. That's how hard those two guys are going to go.
Yeah, I agree.
But we actually have a PGA Tour event this week, which is the Waste Management, the biggest party on tour. I've actually never been to this event, but I've heard it's amazing. It's definitely a bucket list item for me. I'd love to go one year and just go check it out. Sit on the whatever it is, the 16th hole, and just it's an amazing event. I saw a stat the other day that it's the most heavily attended sporting event over the 4 days in North America. It's up there in the world with things like World Cup and the Olympics and things like that. So pretty amazing that this non-major fun hit and giggle tournament is like one of the largest attended sporting events in the United States every single year. But it's a blast, and everybody shows up. It's sold out again. Like I saw notifications last week that they had sold out the grounds for all 4 days. You couldn't even buy a ticket, which is insane. But we're here, dude. It's a great tourney. It's a pretty good field. It's not an elevated event this year because they needed to save Pebble Beach. But this is the kind of tournament that just kind of draws a good field. And over the years here, it seems like it's kind of your typical desert golf. You want guys who are good off the tee, put the ball out there a long ways. The course does play pretty long, even though you're playing in the desert and the ball goes a little bit farther. We tend to see guys not hit as many greens in regulation, so around the green is important. But I have a pretty specific like player profile I'm targeting this week for DFS, and I'll see what I do on the betting boards. But there's definitely some guys that people are turning to. But I mean, what do you like when you think about the Waste Management, the kind of guys that have won here? Like, what kind of things like resonate with you with guys that play well at this place?
Good approach players that can't putt. Yeah, Scotty Scheffler, Hideki Matsuyama, Brooks Koepka. These guys are renowned for being really good approach players and not great putters. Webb Simpson's won here. Who else has won? Ricky Fowler's won here. Yeah, man. I just think it's all about approach this week. I think these guys, they are really good at being able to hit the fairways here. And even if you're not hitting the fairways here, you don't get in too much trouble. and then just trying to get it on the greens and make putts. And for some reason or another, it seems like this course, it seems like it's a little bit easier to read the greens. I don't know if it's the grass type or whatever it is, but it seems like players that aren't the best putters in the world tend to do well here. And I don't really know what that correlates to, but it's got to be something with the undulations in the green and being able to read the greens properly. So whatever it is, I think approach is definitely the number one stat that we're looking at this week.
Yeah, no, it's funny. So I was out in Arizona last week and I played around at a great course I told you about called Raven, which was fantastic. And I would tell you that I probably had one of my better putting rounds. And I'm not a good putter. And I honestly, what I think it is? The greens, they play fast and they don't break as much. So you kind of pick your line and you put the ball on the line, and that seems to work. Like I had one of my best putting rounds I've had in a long time. And then, I go back home and I play like dog crap again. I can't putt. So it's like, I do think there's something to these greens where they tend to roll fast and they tend to not have as much break. And so the guys that struggle on the greens, they just don't have that much problems here like they would at other courses.
Yeah, I totally agree. What's the grass type here? Is it Bermuda?
So it's POA. Like for years, it used to say it was Bermuda with like POA overseed, but it's like, it's not the kind of POA like we have back home in California. It's like a wispier. It's not the same. So it's not as thick. You don't get like those weird bobbles that like when you putt in California, the ball kind of moves back and forth. Everything kind of rolls true on these greens. So to your point, the guys that seem to struggle like Scheffler and Koepka and even Ricky Fowler to some extent. Like Ricky's won here, and he's he wasn't a good putter until recently here that he got the jailbreak putter. But it seems like that is a very true statement. Like just put it on the green and then just putt, and guys play well. I mean, Webb Simpson won here, and I can't take credit for the corollary, but they talked about it on the Mayo show that there's a lot of crossover with the guys that have played well at the Players. Like if you look at the guys who have won and played well there, and then also U.S. Opens. Like for some reason, guys who have played well at U.S. Opens seem to play well here. That
Gary Woodland.
Yeah, Gary, exactly, 100%. So Ricky always plays good at U.S. Opens. Wyndham obviously won the U.S. Open. Hideki always plays well at the Players. He's won this event before. Scotty won the Players. JT won the Players. These are all guys that play well at this course, and it just happens that for whatever reason, those three comp sets, when you look at them, there seem to be a lot of crossover winners.
Interesting. I don't know what the corollary is, or I don't know why it's like that, but
no clue.
You would think that this is a completely different course than Sawgrass or what US Opens are set up to be, but I don't know. But if the numbers don't lie, I mean the winners don't lie. So it has to be something. So yeah, I mean that might be a good idea to target some guys that play well at US Opens, play well at Sawgrass. So yeah, something to keep in mind.
Let's go ahead and jump into it. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler is the king of this. He's won, I think, in back-to-back years here. And oddly enough, when I ran my model, Xander had better course history than him. And it's just like Xander just finishes inside the top 10 here like every year. But
Xander withdrew, though.
And he withdrew from the tournament. Yeah. So, really what that's done is it's really squeezed Scheffler and Thomas. Those two guys are just garnering so much ownership. It feels like JT, because of the price difference between him and Scotty at 11.6 at 10K, like a lot more people are opting for Justin Thomas. And obviously the form's been very, very good. He contended and played well at Pebble Beach. And we don't know what would have happened if they've gotten to have played that last round, but, obviously in contention. But who do you like here? And I mean, obviously, I talked about two of them already. They're going to be uber popular, but who else do you think here is going to be popular, and who do you think there's some options to get some leverage on the field in this range?
So I don't think you can go wrong with Scotty or Justin Thomas at the top. I think those are definitely going to be out of all these guys, those two are going to be the most popular just because of course history and form and stuff like that. If I had to pick between the two, I think I would just go with the two-time defending champion, Scotty Scheffler, best player in the world. But you do get a lot of savings. You get $1,600 in savings, and being able to, round out your lineup in the 7K range instead of the 6K range which we'll get to later. If you start with Justin Thomas, and I don't think it's a bad start at all to start with Justin Thomas. Obviously he has very good course history here, nothing but top 10 finishes basically over the last 5 years, and then coming in he has nothing but top 10 finishes. He hasn't been able to put a win on the board yet, but this is a good chance for him to win this week. And just I'll let the cat out of the bag now. He's my one and done pick this week. I'm just rolling with Justin Thomas this week. I think it's a good pick for one and done. I think he's going to be popular, but I think he has a good chance to win this week. So definitely, if you want to, I truly believe if you want to be different this week and if you want to gain leverage on the field, you fade both Scotty and Justin at the top. I think that's the way to go if you're going to try to be different. I think the most common build is going to be one of those guys and then one of the guys in the 9K range. So I think that's the most common build. As far as leverage goes in the 9K range, you're definitely going to get some leverage with Matthew Fitzpatrick and Cam Young. That seems like those guys are going to be single digit ownership. So if you want to be super different, you can start your lineup with Matthew Fitzpatrick and Cam Young. And then, you can load up in the 8K range and then go down to the 7K range after that. But that's definitely a way to get different. But if you're going to ask me who I'm going to go to here, I think I'm going to go to Spieth at 9,500. He obviously has great course history. He should have won here a couple years ago when who was he? He was battling with Xander. Oh, that's the year that Brooks won when he chipped in for eagle. That one.
That's right. Yeah.
He chipped in for eagle on 17. So I remember he was battling with Xander that year. So I think I like to play with Jordan. He didn't play the greatest last week at Pebble, a place where he typically plays well, but I think this is a friendly environment for him. I think he likes the atmosphere of Waste Management, so I think he's going to play well this week. Not showing super high ownership. It seems like he's coming in right around like 12-13%, so not bad. And then the other guy I'm gonna go to is going to be Sahith, man. I think we obviously saw him. I mean, he should have won here 2 years ago when he chipped it. Remember he chipped it into the water on 17 when all he had to do was get up and down to possibly win that tournament. So I think he's grown a lot since then. I think he's matured a lot since then. He's won a PGA Tour event since then. So I like Sahith this week, man. I think he might be a little bit lower owned just because of the names surrounding him. I mean, people are going to see the names like Sung Jae and Wyndham Clark, who just won last week, right below him, and Jordan Spieth and Sam Burns. They're going to be like, those guys are better golfers than Sahith Theegala. Yes, during most weeks they are better golfers than Sahith Theegala, but he is one of those boom and bust guys where, he can go out and win a golf tournament. And I think that this is a course that sets up really well for him. He's played well here in the past. He's playing pretty decently coming in. So could have easily won at the Century Tournament of Champions a few weeks ago. So I like Sahith. So for me, if you're going to tell me to rank my favorite plays here, it's going to be Scotty at the top and then Jordan and Sahith in the 9K range. I don't really have any leans on any of the other guys coming in. I know there's some love for Sam Burns and some love for Wyndham Clark coming off that win. What about you? What do you like down here?
Yeah, you hit on one of them. I think so. The first part is we talk about it every single week, but I think like lineup construction, like if you're going to choose to go chalky at the top, then you have to construct your lineup a little bit different to get like different from the normal landing spots. Because to your point, like if you go with like Thomas or Scheffler and you go Sahith or Poston or one of those guys like in the 9K range or in the 8K range, like you're going to end up with about the same kind of money for the other four players. And that's how you get caught in this ownership conundrum. So like if you're going to choose to go with one of those guys, then you need to get different. And like I like the ability of using to your point, like a Spieth or a Burns or even Homa, like there to make your lineup a little bit different and then put you in some slightly different buckets, like when you get into player, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But I do like Burns this week. I for whatever reason, I went back and researched and kind of did a little bit deeper dive on him. He's got decent course history here. The form's been very good in terms of his finishes. He's one of those guys where, he's highly variable, where we never really know like week to week what we're going to get from him. Typically with a lot of these high end guys, like we know like, oh, like to your point, his strength is approach, or this guy's great off the tee. And Burns, other than putting, it kind of fluctuates week to week. Like one week he'll gain 5 strokes, off the tee, and then the next week he'll lose 4 and gain 3 in approach. And so it just, you never really know, other than his strokes gained total seem to kind of wash out the same over time. But I do like the current form. We've got, going back to, basically the century now, he's got, 2 top 10s, and obviously at the Tournament of Championships, not the best. But I do like the form that he's in, and this is a place where he's had some success before. So it feels like maybe I'm trying to call the shot on him a little bit, but I looked really hard at him for one and done this week. The other guy that I looked hard at as well, just because I don't think a lot of people are talking about it and are using him, it's the two of them, is Cam Young and then Min Woo, who we'll get into, I guess, a little bit later here. But like Cam Young, like nobody's playing him, and I know that he's kind of been out of sight, out of mind for a while. But he had a nice run through the Middle East, going there and playing. So the only thing that scares me, and you hit it on the head with the profile, is his approach game's been terrible. The driver's still been a great weapon for him. He still can't putt, but his approach numbers have been bad. And to your point, typically we see like high level approach guys compete, contend, and win at this course. Not to say that you need to absolutely have that to win, but there's definitely a correlation between that stat and the guys we've seen that have just traditionally had a lot of success here. So that's the only reason that could scare me away. I do like Sahith, like you as well. He just plays well here. It still feels like we're on the West Coast. He's a West Coast guy. He just plays good at these events. And that it's just a very memorable moment, his rookie year, watching him almost win this thing. And so maybe there's some heartstrings in that, in watching him. So I think we're on a lot of the same guys here. The other guy that I'd throw in there is maybe Sungjae. Just, he hasn't played great, but he also hasn't played objectively terrible. There's been nothing really to write home about, but he always scores in DraftKings. So for lineups and stuff like that, I like him. I don't like him as a bet, or maybe not even a one and done, but I could see using him in DraftKings this week as well.
Yeah, he has good course history here. 6th place finish here last year, 7th place a few years ago. It's just, he's played really bad the last couple weeks at Torrey and at Pebble. Like he hasn't shown me anything that I like. I don't know whether it's the conditions or what's going on, but nothing to be too excited about with Sungjae as far as his form coming in. So I don't know, man. He has won in the past at desert courses. He won at Shriners or one of those Las Vegas courses in the past. So he's won. He's won in the desert before. So I don't mind it. I just don't really know where his game's at right at the moment. So probably leaning more towards a fade for Sungjae from me. I do like the Burns call. I mean, we just saw him play well in the desert at the American Express a few weeks ago. He should have won that tournament if he doesn't, put it in the water on 17. But so I like those calls. I think we're on the similar guys. Wyndham Clark's kind of a wild card for me, just because I don't really know what to expect out of him after a 54-hole win. But it is interesting because he was like 7,400 last week on DraftKings, so big price bump for him. I think he deserves more to be in this range than the $7,400 range. So maybe that, now that some of the whispers about him going to live and all that is out the window, now he's fully focused on playing on the PGA Tour. I think he's focused and could have a big season this year. So I like the guys that we talked about. I just don't know anything about Cam Young and what to expect from him. Like, I just don't really know what's going on with his game at the moment. Like you said, he did look good in the Middle East, but didn't play well at Pebble last week. And I don't know. He's kind of a leaning towards a fade for me with Sungjae. So I like the guys that we talked about though.
Yep. Dropping down in this next range. It feels like Poston's going to be super popular. Everyone's going to want to play him. And a lot of the guys that were a couple of weeks ago here, like super hot, everybody was on them. They seem to be, at least from the narrative that's coming out from, like the golf media and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like there's the same level of like involvement, like, or like like recommending, like nobody. And again, maybe it's a course fit thing, but like Eric Cole's been just continued to be like kind of bulletproof, right? And now, nobody's talking about him again. I recognize the course fit may not be great, but you can't argue with the results. Min Woo a couple weeks ago here, everyone was on him to win, and this kind of feels like it might be a better course for him. But again, the same thing we mentioned about Cam Young, like Min Woo's been terrible on approach. I mean, he's been objectively like bad. Like he's in the bottom third in terms of strokes gained approach over the last 24 to 36 rounds of anybody in this field. But he's still like inside the top 10 in the betting odds, and he's obviously $8,700 this week. But we saw him in Australia, dude. He played really well at desert courses down in Australia. He won at one. He came in runner-up, I think, the week after that. So, it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of guys to be interested in. And the other guy no one's really talking about is Fowler. Like Fowler's won here. He's obviously has come around from where he was a couple of years ago. But it seems like nobody's in on Fowler in 8,200. It feels like you're kind of getting a discount on it.
Yeah, he's definitely coming in single-digit ownership right now. It looks like the chalk coming in here is going to be Eric Cole, Benny On, and JT Poston, and everybody else is pretty much leverage off of those three guys. So
here's the weird thing. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but it's like JT Poston, Ben and Eric Cole in a price range with Hideki Matsuyama, Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler, Min Woo Lee, Tom Kim. Everybody's going to play those three guys over all those other names that I just mentioned.
It makes sense, right? I mean, JT Poston has been probably one of the best players on tour all season so far, and Benny On too, and Eric Cole, besides one hiccup at Torrey Pines, which was not a good course fit for him. He's just a top 15 machine. So it makes sense why people are going to go to these guys. But I like Hideki, man, 8,400. He obviously two-time champion here. He's not playing the greatest right now, but I just think when he comes here and he sees a course where approach is important, and we know Hideki's one of the best iron players in the world. I like Hideki, man. 8,400, low ownership this week. I think he just gets good vibes when he comes here, plays well here every year in and year out. So I like Hideki at 8,400. He's probably my favorite play in this range. I'm just going to continue to go to Eric Cole, just eat the chalk with him, because I'm going to play him at any course where I feel like length is not important, because he's not that long off the tee. So that's why we didn't like him at Torrey, but I like him this week where length is not super important and approach play and putting is more important. So definitely going to roll with Eric Cole. As far as Ricky Fowler goes, obviously he's won here before. He had a top 10 finish here last year. I just don't know what he did last week, man. He played so good on Thursday. I think he shot like, I don't remember what he shot on Thursday, but he was in the top 5 on Thursday after
I want to say it was like 6 under. I think he shot like 5 or 6 under on Thursday.
And then he just played awful on Friday and Saturday. I just have no explanation as to why he just like completely played like garbage on Friday and Saturday. So I don't know, man. I just it's tough for me to eat chalk with JT Poston right now. I get why people love him right now, but if I was going to pick between those two at the top, Poston and On, I'd probably go to On, just because a little bit better course history here. I just don't. Man, it's just so hard for me to click an 8,900 JT Poston. It's just week in and week out. He's playing so good, but it's just tough for me to click. I'd rather go to the names below. And even though Min Woo Lee has been awful in approach play, he's still a better golfer than JT Poston, in my opinion. So I'd rather get the savings there. At the bottom of this range, who you got love for down here? I mean, Bo Hostler has been a fantasy darling over the last few weeks. Adam Hadwin, good course history. We call him the Desert Fox for a reason. I don't really know down here, man. You got to sell me on one of these guys between Connors, Hostler, and Hadwin, because these three guys are being very overlooked. No ownership for any of these guys right now. But if you're going to play some lineups and try to be different, that's the range that you're going to want to hit right there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like that's that low 8K range is going to be underplayed. It's going to sound crazy, but I kind of like Adam Scott as a pivot off of Hideki. We just saw him. I think he played Pebble and he quietly finished like top 20.
Yeah.
Nothing amazing, but the ball striking numbers are still pretty good. He's leaning more on the driver than on approach. But I like Adam Scott as a pivot. And then down there at the bottom, like Hostler's been playing very, very good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big Hostler fan, and he's everything kind of lines up where it's like, hey, he had a good finish here last year. He's at a couple of top 15s. I feel like you're an $8,000 Bo Hostler seems like top of market to me. And so I would rather go with Connors or Hadwin. They're just better players to me. And again, regardless of what the current stats say right now, like they are better ball strikers than Bo Hostler historically. So I would tend to go with either one of those guys over Hostler. And I think Hostler's probably going to he'll probably end up getting double the ownership of those other two guys.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's going to be definitely higher owned between those three guys, but I think overall they're going to be all kind of low owned compared to like Eric Cole and Benny on in this range. So yeah, I like the call. I think fade Hostler and play either Connors or Hadwin. Between those two, I don't really have a preference, but they're both good approach players, and Hadwin's a good putter. So yeah, I don't really have a preference between those two.
Yeah, I mean, actually the guy I really like that's close to this price range is right at the next break at 7,900. Like if I was to take from Connors down, like I actually like Norn at the top of the 7K range. Like he has historically played well here. He's been playing very well the last couple of weeks. So I like Norn at 7,900 actually more than those other three guys.
Okay. You want to answer this question in our chat before we
oh yeah, your boy Abner. Yeah. No, I would say from a one and done perspective, like it's a good strategy because the live guys will end up playing the ones that are qualified, obviously. Like Neiman as an example, who's fantastic. He's not qualified to play in any of the majors, but like your Dustins, your Brookses, those guys, Patrick Reed, whoever it is, like just be sure that if you're saving a guy for live to play in one of the majors, that he's actually qualified to be in the major that you want to use him in.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a big four that you can use in majors from live. It's Rahm, it's Koepka, it's Cam Smith, and it's either Bryson or DJ. One of those guys. Those guys are going to be in the majors. So I think that you're pretty safe if you're going that strategy to make sure that you have four good golfers for the majors. And then as far as Scotty goes, I mean, this is the time of the year that he wins for some reason. Like that year where 2 years ago when he won like 3 out of 4 tournaments or whatever, it's around this time. And
this is where it started. Yeah.
It's for some reason, like he just doesn't really play. He doesn't really win tournaments later on in the year. I don't know if he gets gassed or what the situation is, but you can't ever really count Scotty Scheffler out of winning a tournament, at any point during the season. But I think your chances of him winning a tournament are better right now, like this month or next month, before we get into the dog days of the summer. So I don't think it's a waste using Scotty here. It's a waste if you use Scotty and he misses the cut. That would suck, but I don't think he's going to miss a cut. I think he's automatic top 5, automatic top 10 at this event. So you're going to get a nice paycheck with him. I think I'd probably rather use him at Sawgrass just because he won there last year, and people that won one and dones last year were because they used Scotty at the highest purse event last year and was able to cash that ticket. So if you want to use somebody like Justin Thomas this week, that's fine. You could save Scotty for the Players Championship, in my opinion. But I think if you're going to use Scotty, it should be either this week or sometime in Florida.
Yeah, no, I think that's one thing like people forget. The Players Championship is, pre or post elevated events, it is the highest pursed event. And so you want to make sure you're using, to your point, your best golfer in that field to return the highest value.
Yep.
And in a week like this, when Waste Management has typically been an elevated event and it's not this year, it's still a good paycheck, but I worry. I know you've said Scotty's your one and done pick, and it's probably the safest.
Justin Thomas is my one and done pick.
Sorry, Justin Thomas, but like using Scotty this week, like the return on value versus like if you were to use him just in his example, like at the players, like he could finish second or third and basically return just as much cash value for your one and done lineups.
Yep.
So in terms of ROI, it's a better play for a guy like that versus a non-elevated event.
Totally agree.
So jumping down into the 7K range, we've got some good names, some guys that have been playing good as of lately. Thomas Detry, who knows, man? He played fantastic, and if we ended up getting that last round at Pebble Beach, might have contended to win there. Mark Hubbard, I feel like, is going to be super popular. Like people love playing Hubbard, and he's playing good right now. They just watched him make a huge run on Saturday in Pebble Beach. There's some good guys here. Kurt Kitayama's got pretty good course history here. Despite the fact that he typically wins at coastal courses, like he actually is from Las Vegas. He went to UNLV, so desert golf is something that he does well. Ryan Fox, who's a bomber and a guy you would think from a course fit perspective, sets up really well. And then the guy that kind of blew me away that was completely outside of like sight and mind, but when I ran the statistical models, and obviously he pops here, like EVR, just for whatever reason, he continues to trend well in models. So if you're running modeling, whether it's something like Fantasy National, which I use, or Rick Run, or whatever your tool is, like for some reason, EVR is popping in models this week as a good play. But I don't know, man. There's a couple guys that I like in this range. I'm always big on Hoagie. Like I like Hoagie. I like Taylor Montgomery. Those are two guys that I kind of like towards the $7,500 range. Above 7,500, like Batia and Noren. Like those are the two guys that I'm going to ride with this week in that range.
Yeah, it looks like, according to Fantasy National, it looks like all the ownership is being flocked towards Batia this week, man. For some reason, people are loving some Akshay this week. It makes sense. Guy's just an absolute birdie machine, and a course where you can go nuclear with birdies, I think is a good spot for him. He's never played this event before, and I don't know if he's going to get swept up in the, being a really young guy or whatever. I don't know if he's going to get swept up in the Wampo mania or not, but maybe he can keep his head together and put together 4 good rounds this week, because people are loving some Akshay this week. I don't know if I'd play him in GPPs just because he seems like he's the chalk in this entire range, but definitely if you're playing like a cash game lineup or something like that, I think it's pretty automatic to put Akshay in your cash game lineup this week. Other than that, I mean, surprisingly, 7,500 and above, I don't really like anybody else, man. Like no one really has good course history here amongst those guys. Daniel Berger showed me a little bit when he played at American Express a few weeks ago. So I think that if he's fully healthy, I think 7,700 is way too low of a price for him. But even him, man, like 3 out of the last 4 times he's played here has been a miscut. So he doesn't really like this course that much. So I don't know if I can get there with him. I like the Noren call. I really like what he's been doing recently on tour. So 6th place finish here a couple years ago. I like that. Dietrich obviously has been playing great this season, and getting a price bump into the upper 7s now instead of the low 7s or the high 6s. So nice little price bump for him. 4th place finish last week. Could have easily won that tournament if he played a better round on Saturday. Dropping below that, I like the Kurt Kitayama call. He's the only guy here that I feel like course history wise, plus what he does at elevated events stats wise, I think he's the guy that we can zero in on and be like, yeah, this is the guy that I think is a nice click for us. He's 16th in your model for a reason. So I like that call. Tom Hoagie played really good on Saturday. I think he shot like 62 or 63 to sneak into the top 6 last week at Pebble Beach. So coming off of a good win, we know he's a good approach player. So I like that call. Kevin Yu has been one of those guys that's just been kind of boom or bust this season. So I don't really know whether or not you want to play him. Below that, Nick Taylor, a couple years ago, I think he went to Battle and lost to Scheffler. Where was it? Yeah,
I think it was last year. Last year he finished. I think he finished second here last year.
Oh yeah, he finished runner-up to Scheffler last year. Yeah, so last year, coming off of a runner-up finish last year, I don't mind that. I'm always a Ben Griffin slut. I just think he just plays I just think he's a good safe play at the prices that he has because he tends to make a lot of birdies and make cuts. I don't really have love for anyone else, man. I don't really get why Luke List is 9th in your model. I don't really understand that. I mean, I guess he's been playing good, but Luke List is just. I think the Luke List train is over for me.
I mean, the only thing I would say about List, and you're right, like he's got a bunch of like top 30 finishes here the last couple of weeks. He's made 3 out of 4 cuts here. It's never been anything stellar. Like his best finish in the last 5 years has been 25th. But again, the ball striking's great. He's inside the top 30 on approach. He's inside, the top 20 on total driving. And the putter has been decent. And like we talked about, like, dude, take a ball striker who's a shitty putter. And I mean, Luke List is like the epitome of that comment. But I just don't know. Like, if he's going to be chalky at all, like I would rather go with other guys, like I mentioned, like EVR. You threw out Nick Taylor. Take a chance with a guy like Ryan Fox, who's a proven winner on the DP tour. You can get a little bit different. I mean, even Billy Horschel, who's been terrible this year. He's only, in his last, I think 5 or 6 tournaments, he's only made 1 cut, but he's like 5 for 5 at this place with 2 top 10s. So there's, to your point, there's something with guys at courses that they just play well. And Billy Horschel just always plays well at the Phoenix Open.
Yeah, but he has such a punchable face, man. I just hate him.
He is a dick. Like he's definitely, like, he comes across as a total jerk. But he just, I mean, if you look at his history here, it's really good.
Yeah, it's good.
And the thing that the ball striking, which is typically what he does, like he's not a great driver of the golf ball in terms of distance, but he's pretty good and accurate. And typically he's been very good on approach. But this year, like, that's really where it's fallen off. Like he's outside the top 70 on approach this week.
Yeah.
And for Billy Ho's, like a prolific ball striker, that's kind of a head scratcher. Like maybe there's something going on in the swing this year.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Mark Hubbard at 7,400?
I like Hubbard. I just worry about ownership. Like I feel like he's going to be stupid chalky this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like me, watching the Pebble Beach tournament, I think the round that he had on Saturday, people saw his name rise, and then where he ended up finishing, because I think he finished in the top 5 at Pebble Beach.
Yeah, he finished 5th.
Like people are going to be all over him at 7,400 because I tend to feel like people play Mark Hubbard regularly because he statistically plays really, really well. Approach is absolutely what he does best, and he can go nuclear on the greens from time to time. So I think because of all of that, people like him, and he's had a couple, I think, of top 25s, top 30s here in the last couple of years. So this is a place where he's obviously pretty comfortable. So I just have a feeling he's going to be like uber chalky this week.
Yeah, looking at Fantasy National right now, it looks like he's the 2nd highest chalk in this range behind Bhatia. So maybe pivot off of him and go to Bez again, who just technically won at American Express. It does, of course, a couple of weeks ago.
At least from the payout perspective.
Yeah, payout perspective, you finished 2nd, but I finished 1st. But I don't know, man. I can never get that guy right. I never get him when he plays well, and I'm always on him when he plays bad. I just never get him right. What's his history here?
It's not bad. I think he's got a couple of top
30s. No, he's played here 1 time and had a miscut last year. So no real history.
Oh, Bez. Yeah. I was looking at Brendan Todd. Like I was going to say, like pivot from Hubbard, like Brendan Todd and Hoagie, who you mentioned, would be the 2 guys that I would probably use rather than using Hubbard.
Yeah, I agree. Michael Kim.
He's been playing great. He's definitely been playing great.
Yeah.
He went through a massive swing change over the offseason that obviously he's documented. Anybody follows him on Twitter, he's very active. But he went through a huge swing change, and it's obviously started to resonate. And he typically plays better on the West Coast. He's a West Coast guy. He's from San Diego, Torrey Pines High School. So, I mean, I don't mind Michael Kim. I just feel like maybe the price tag is a little too high on him at 7,100, which is insane to say. But I think there's a lot worse plays for how steady he's been playing.
Okay. I think that's enough in the 7K range.
I agree. Yeah. I think we kind of beat this horse to death, but yeah, I think it's, I would say Hoagie and Todd over Hubbard would be the call for me.
Okay. I'll go with that.
Dropping down into the dumpster, some familiar faces. Sam Ryder, everybody remembers the hole-in-one Sam Ryder had. He's right at the top of this, and obviously he's got decent history, and he's coming in an okay form. This is, I don't think, because of lineup construction, I don't think a lot of people are going to play a lot of guys down here in the 6Ks.
Yeah,
So I think
agree.
if what that ends up being is you end up with guys being like one or two guys being the clear chalk in the 6Ks and everybody else is just completely underowned. So, if you like somebody down here that you're like Vince Norman, I like Vince Norman. I'm going to play Vince Norman this week for whatever reason. I just grabbed that name out of the air, but like no one's going to own him. Like you can play whoever you want except for the one or two guys that are garnering all the ownership. If you can avoid those two guys, like go for it. And I think, like KH Lee, like the guy's a multi-time PGA Tour winner. Like, and he plays good at TPC courses.
He plays good at TPC Lee.
Yeah, I like every time I see a TPC course and I get KH Lee sub $7,000. It's like an auto click on DraftKings for me.
Yeah, I love KH Lee. He won me 100K on DraftKings. That's all I really care about him. So he was in my winning lineup. So I have a soft spot for K. You don't have to convince me to play KH Lee. He's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, and he's got decent course history here. He's made the cut. I mean, he finished runner up here, I think, like in 19 or 20 or 21. So this is a place where he's comfortable, man. And if you're gonna ride the TPC narrative, like, dude, go play you some KH Lee because no one's gonna play KH Lee this week.
What about this guy? Jake loves to take a nap.
I know nothing about Jake Knapp other than let me tell you farmers.
Let me tell you about Jake Knapp. This guy was, I think it's the first time all season. I think it might be the first time in like 2 seasons or something like that. But at Torrey, this guy gained across the board 3 straight rounds at Torrey, which is sick. That's dirty, man. No one has done that. Like I don't think like anyone's done that in the last couple of years. So gaining across the board 3 straight rounds at Torrey. That's the last time we saw him play. I think he ended up finishing in the top 5, right? I want to say in the top 5. Yeah, he finished 3rd at Torrey. Guy's good, man. I think he's good. I don't really know if he's good or not, but I think he's good. If you're going to gain across the board in any PGA tournament once and then do it for 3 straight rounds, you got to be hitting the ball good. So
yeah,
6,900. I mean that we don't have too much information on him, but I think it's worth a stab.
Yeah, no, I mean that's not a bad call. I mean, if you're gonna, and again, to the point that we made, no one's gonna play him. So if you saw something, you think there's a corollary with Farmers, Torrey, and this place, like I mean, I like it. I can't argue with it because to your point, it's one of the most difficult courses. The conditions were tough. It's going to demand a lot of the same kinds of things where it's going to put a premium on ball striking in terms of that course at Torrey, and then of course at this course. So I mean, I don't mind the nap call. The guys that when I ran the numbers because it's really hard for me to get a feeling for guys I really like down here because you get a mixed bag of either A, guys that are in really shitty form, or B, like they just don't have a lot of rounds, right? So it's tough in the 6Ks. So I rely heavily on the statistical modeling. And the guys for me that I like down here, I like Nick Hardy, like in terms of a cut maker. Like he's made now, I think like 4 or 5 cuts in a row. This is a place where he's made a cut as well. His approach game is inside the top 20 in a pretty good field. The guy right behind him, Brandon Wu, same thing. Like I think there's some cut equity there. And then dropping down just a little bit farther, your boy, Scott Stallings. Like Stallings balls out here, dude. Like he's fantastic at this course.
I was just about to bring him up, man. And he played well for a round or 2 rounds at Torrey Pines, but yeah, man, good course history here. He's one of those guys that can boom or bust, and that's kind of all you're really asking for out of a guy at 6,700. You want him to be able to make his way up to the top of the leaderboard. Top 10, top 15 would be great out of him at 6,700. I'm 28th in your model. I like it, man. Scott Stallings, 6,700. I'm in.
Yeah, no, I when I ran the numbers and he showed really well, like even in the pure statistical model, he's still like inside the top 35 in terms of approach. Yep. He's really good from the proximity distance. Like most of the shots here come from like that 175 to 200 bucket. So he's pretty good there too. So I like Stallings this week. And again, for the guys that I'm playing down in the 6Ks, like just make the cut. Like make the cut, play the weekend. And I like Hardy, Wu, and Stallings from that perspective. Is there anybody else like way, way down the board that you really like this week? You're like, hey, if you're gonna throw a dart, like this guy's worth a dart.
Not way, way down the board, but Johnny Vegas, not bad. I mean, 23rd and the 10th here. The last two times he's played here, 6,500. So
he's the only thing with Vegas is he's missed 3 straight cuts in a row, pretty bad.
Yeah. Maybe some Matthew Neesmith. I don't really know. I mean, I had him. I don't remember where, but like he got there somewhere for me recently over the swing season, I think. But 7th place finish here a few years ago. But after that, 2 missed cuts. That's the only name that jumps out to me for me.
What about your boy, sponsored by Waste Management? He's made 3 out of 4 cuts.
I'm not playing Charlie Hoffman.
Come on, Green Glove Charlie Hoffman.
No, that guy sucks now, man.
Dude, he's pure statistics. 4 out of 5 made cuts with 2 top 20s at this place in the last 5 years, and he's made 1, 2, 3 out of the last 4 cuts.
You sold me.
I'm just saying, like, if you're throwing a dart, like, Vegas, T Dunks, Robbie Shelton, like, I like SH Kim too. Like, I've been playing him and he's been playing well. Absolutely mashes the ball off the tee and he's really good around the greens. So I like SH Kim too at 6,500.
Charlie Hoffman, guy's the bane of my existence.
Dude, you love Charlie Hoffman.
I love Charlie Hoffman. I'm just reading some stuff here. Zach Johnson, 6,300. He ranks, his course history here is pretty good. He had a 25th place finish last time. I don't know if I can get to the captain, but it's a tough call. But Matt McNeely, man, 6,500. He played all right last week. Like, he didn't play bad.
I just feel like last week was a home game for Mav, but he has, to your point, I mean, he's made 4 out of the last 5 cuts. So, like, when we think about economies to scale at $6,500, like, make the cut. So he's proven he can do that the last few weeks.
Yeah. That's all I got, man. I don't have anybody else besides that.
What about other superstar of this event down here, Joel Dahman? Take your shirt off when you hit a birdie putt, Joel Dahman.
That guy is fun. I'd like to. If I was paired up in a pro-am, I'd like to play with him.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny about it is, I mean, his course history is okay. He's made, I think he's made 4 cuts here. If I'm looking at the right, no, he's made two out of 4 cuts here.
Yeah,
but like on the statistical model that I built, like good on approach, good off the tee, good on opportunities gained. He scores a lot of birdies. Unless he's trying to make one to, reduce the field size because it goes from 300 to 200, and then he misses those all day. But I don't know. Like, again, when we're talking about guys down here below 7K, like, I feel like we're throwing darts and you kind of got to talk yourself into somebody. But I could see sprinkling some Dahlman in there if he's not too popular. But again, if it's to your point about Zach Johnson, if I can get Zach Johnson at like 0.05% ownership and, Joel Dahman is 3%, I'm taking Zach Johnson. Like, I'm just going to take the ownership.
Yeah. Okay. One last name, just because he's yellow in that last column over there, hasn't played a PGA Tour event since September
2 years.
2020. It's been almost 4 years since this guy has played a PGA Tour event. His last 2 times he's played here, 25th and the 26th. Bud Cauley, I have no idea where his game is at right now, but I mean, I used to play him in DraftKings. I haven't seen him in 4 years.
I mean, it's funny because, where he excels historically, he's good off the tee, and he's like Spieth and Scheffler around the greens. Like, he's like a wizard around the greens. And it's because he doesn't hit a ton of great approaches. So like, mash the ball off the tee, miss the green, chip it to, a foot or chip it in. Like he just is good around the greens and he's had success here. I don't know, man. Like there's way more unknowns than knowns. And I feel like to your point, like
Yeah.
people are going to see this when they run modeling and be like, oh, he's played well here before. I'm going to click that name. So it's an easy just cross off for me. No, I'd rather play David Lipsky.
Right. I was just about to say that. I'd rather play Lipsky or somebody like Hayden Buckley that actually like plays on tour.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather play Hayden Buckley. That's another name I would rather play than him. So yeah, I can't see it. Watch Bud Colley finish top 10 this week.
If he finishes top 10 this week, I'm going to kick myself because that's 34th in your model at flat min 6 is pretty good.
I know. Dude, what happened to CT Pan, dude? What CT Pan used to be like a good golfer. Dude, he won a bronze medal in the Olympics, I think.
He got hurt, and I don't think he's been the same after he's got hurt.
God, yeah, he used to be good. Now he's not. Anyways,
all right. Well, have fun in Vegas, sir.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm gonna probably go do some dinner.
Are you
tonight,
going to the event? Are you going to the event?
No, I'm not going to go to the live event because I'm actually going to fly back early. So I'm going to fly back tomorrow rather than stay. I was contemplating going to the practice round on Thursday. I think that's actually not practice round, but the Pro-Am. But they've had just as much rain out here as we've had in Southern California. So I don't know how their schedule's screwed up because of the weather conditions. So I just said, bag it. I'm just going to fly home. So cool. I'll probably place some bets here at the sports book tonight and tomorrow morning, and then fly home and build on my DraftKings because I can't do DraftKings here because they don't allow it in Las Vegas or in Nevada.
That's
so,
true.
But
all right, man. Safe travels.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, and remember everybody to subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia channel. Like and click this thing. Share out the link. It's out on Twitter. It's out on YouTube. We appreciate all of the comments and people that hung in there with us. Good luck this week.
We'll be back on the air tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be back on for talking Super Bowl with Mike and Chris and Jake on the football show.
Yep. Look forward to that.
All right, well, Rick, dude, appreciate it, brother. Everybody have a good night and good luck this week.